This is Secrets to Win Big, your roadmap to sustained growth. Brought to you by Arjun Sen, founder and CEO of Zen Mango, top brand growth driver, and a former Fortune 500 executive who has been called one of the most marketing intelligent minds in the business. Find him at zenmango.com. And now, here's your host, Arjun Sen.
Welcome to Secrets to Win Big with Arjun Sen. Today, my VIP guest is Craig Woolridge. Craig excels in building and managing relationships and developing long-term business strategies and delivering innovative client solutions. The thing that I really liked was long-term, because somehow in this world, as we are all about short-term, and I'm hearing terms like without short-term, there's no long-term. Hearing this word long-term really was a refreshing change, and I really had to talk to him right there. Craig also prioritizes business growth and innovation and his exceptional skills in operations management and sales strategy development. With extensive experience working for notable companies like Cantor Fitzgerald, Morgan Stanley, LibertyView Capital Management, Blacklock Partners, Toronto Dominion, Microsoft, and BNP Paribas, Craig is well positioned to implement cutting-edge solutions and continue driving success. Craig, welcome to Secrets to Win Big.
Thank you very much, Arjun. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm grateful to speak with you today.
Absolutely. So first, let's go into your career. It has a perfect blend of sales, marketing, and then operations. What made you choose this path? You could have done a lot of different things. Why this path that you've chosen?
That's a great question. Sometimes I ask myself that every single day. So just to take a step back, I grew up in Berkeley, California, and I come from a long line of professionals in the law profession, as well as dentistry and medical professions. And really, it was expected that I would attend UC Berkeley. And at the last minute, and this was in the late 70s, early 80s, I made a decision to attend Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia. And this was unbeknownst to my family, and they were very surprised. But I kind of felt like at the time, I was kind of like, if you remember the movie, It's a Wonderful Life, I felt like George Bailey, and I had to get out of Berkeley. And so I chose Morehouse College, which essentially was the impetus and the springboard to my career, which is, spanned almost 40 years now. And so upon attending Morehouse, I really wasn't sure what my major was going to be. Typically as a freshman, you don't declare a major. And as I mentioned, law and the medical professions were kind of part of my family infrastructure. But I quickly realized that business was my forte. Growing up in Berkeley, I had several early entrepreneurial endeavors, such as I washed windows, I had a lawn service business, I had a paper route, which doesn't even exist really anymore. You get on your bike and you load up your papers and you make your paper distribution, and worked at McDonald's and some other companies or retail operations as well. And so at Morehouse, I just chose to pursue business and with a concentration in marketing. And so through that experience, it allowed me to really excel, kind of spread my wings. Being away from California and being in Atlanta, Georgia, I was able to be and really started to embark on my authentic self.
I want to go back to the working hard, humble beginnings, from the paper route to the lawn care business, McDonald's. How does all those self-investment, self-made building blocks help you be where you are today?
Very good question. And so really those were the fundamental aspects of one, character building, implementing responsibility, having my own business. I was fortunate enough to have a father who supported me on these endeavors, and he encouraged me to go out and do things like, my lawn business, for instance, started at my own home, right? And I said, well, this is one of my chores. So how do I leverage this? He says, well, go knock on some of the doors in our neighborhood and start a business, and ask if you could, start a business and tend to their lawns. And so through that process, I really learned early fundamental character aspects of empathy, being responsible, showing up on time, doing a good job. And so from that lawn business to, I mentioned McDonald's. Like, people think McDonald's, you see the workers in McDonald's, but I had the extreme fortune to be hired by the first Black-owned McDonald franchisers in Berkeley. And they really pushed the McDonald's platform. And again, going back to responsibility, showing up on time, coming to work, all those fundamental early playbook aspects, which I continue to carry with me today.
Brilliant. And I really appreciate going back down the memory lane, taking time to share. Because, many a time today, the speed at which the younger generation plays is totally different. But when I start hearing a 16-year-old wants to be the next founder of Facebook, I really feel that there's a few steps missing, that absolutely the world needs those geniuses. But also you have to, as you talked about, the empathy, showing up on time, working hard, like those are the building blocks, without which, once you're blessed to have a team, how the heck do you manage that team if you have not had those building blocks?
Absolutely.
And secondly, for every one of those Zuckerbergs, there are so many aspirational Zuckerbergs who don't make it. But whereas the work ethics that you're talking about really sets you up for nearly guaranteed success, that I think is the big difference. But I really appreciate you going there.
Yes.
I want to now look back at different companies, different areas you have had big success. I want to understand from Craig's point of view, what are some big wins, but more importantly, what are the common paths, common traits, common, ways of getting to those wins that literally is like a process or like a roadmap that you've created for yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you so much for that. So one story that comes to mind would be, once I graduated from Morehouse, I excelled in my major in business, and I excelled in my major, which granted me the opportunity to be recruited right as an undergraduate into an MBA program, training program at Chemical Bank, which is now Chase Manhattan Bank. And so, there was an element of imposter syndrome. Here I am, this undergraduate, one of two undergraduates in this program. So I had to figure out how to be successful. The term, fight or flight. And so I said, well, how do I become successful in this organization, coming in as an undergraduate? And so I had to really rely on my own self-reliance. And so strategically, I said, what am I really good at? And I'm really good at building relationships. Remember, building on those building blocks about empathy and creating kind of a plan, if you will. And so I asked the company, could I start early? Now, remember, you're hired into the training program, but that doesn't guarantee success, a successful hire into one of the departments. So I said, okay, my best chances of success is to build relationships throughout various departments. So I asked, could I start early? So I graduated in May, went right to New York from Atlanta, and asked to audit various departments by myself. And so the company, they supported that. They said, sure, you can start. And so I started to go and audit each department, and found some areas that I really liked. And one group, in fixed income and credit sales, the department manager liked me and presented an offer to me even before I went into the training program. And so by doing that, that was the fair way to play. But I started early, and I just leveraged off my personality, my skill set, which I thought was the strongest point to get in, secured a position before I even graduated from the training program. And so I was the first, when the training program ended, I had a job and I secured a job. So I leveraged off of something that I was strong at in order to succeed and make sure that I was positioned well.
So I feel privileged to make an announcement here without your permission.
Yes.
When Craig writes a book about his life's journey, he should seriously consider the title, Can I Start Early? I love that. Because to me, there are ways you can show your desire to make an impact, how excited you are. But to me, I really feel those words right away resonated because I have not heard that before. Okay? I've heard about reasons to defer. Like we have a lot of excuses like, hey, it's my best friend's birthday. Can I start a week late? This, that. Like deferring is such a beautiful thing we hear. But I have never heard this. Can I start early? And I really think that, to me, that is an amazing, amazing phrase. But I also like the second half of it is, it was not just a gimmick.
No.
It was followed with like you create the opportunity, and then like you are like the horse in Kentucky Derby. Once you take you're not looking back. You are seizing on the opportunity. So I really like that. Not only do you start early, but you stay ahead to get the job and beyond. Amazing. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Arjun.
So similarly, what are other traits of Craigness that is unique, that defines you, that makes you in the category of, can I start early? I'm really intrigued now.
Right. So I'm sorry, repeat the question.
What are other traits in you, Craig? Like, what are the other things that you define yourself by that always works because of your authenticity?
Well, again, going back to, identifying one's strengths and really understanding your blind spots. And when I say blind spots, right, blind spots aren't necessarily negative. It's identifying those blind spots and working on those blind spots to be better. But also, don't let those blind spots get in the way of your success.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tend to use that all the time. I mean, I had just a short story. My great-grandfather, Walter A. Gordon, was the first All-American at UC Berkeley, and this was in 1919. And he's a Black man, the first All-American, went on to be the first Black graduate from, which was then the Bolt Law School. Now it's the Berkeley Law School. And so I had the opportunity and the pleasure to know him. He passed away in 1976. And so he granted me, in addition to my parents, many tools to work with at an early age. And so one motto that galvanized with me early on was, he goes, integrity, humor, and intelligence doesn't have any color barrier. And smart people know this. So those fundamental factors I kind of keep in the back of my head always as I propel forward. So whenever I get tripped up or feel as though kind of, faced with some adversity, I kind of go back to those fundamental tools and then just work with what I have.
I want to build a little more on adversity. Is each one of us have different ways of looking at adversity. Some of us are master of denial, saying, even when things are happening, one, it can be happening, two, it can be happening to me. So you started talking about how you deal with adversity, and no success of the magnitude you have gone through cannot come unless you have had a path to overcome adversity.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? Anytime adversity comes in the corporate world, personal life, like how does Craig jump in? What's your first reaction? What's the second thing? What's the third thing? How do you go forward?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone's faced with adversity, right? And so you have a choice. We all have choices, and so I also have kind of a mantra that I live by, is that you'll have plenty wins, many wins, and many failures. Well, I try to erase that term and that point of failure I look at those as opportunities to learn. So there are wins and then there are learnings. And so those learnings will be translated, in an adverse situation like, oh, geez, I failed. This is terrible. How do I move forward? I tend to look at it as, okay, I can springboard from this. I can learn from this and take this to my next journey or next chapter or next job opportunity, whatever that may be. I use that even in relationships, friendships. Some things just don't work out. That's just the way life is. And if you go down a path of always trying to be perfect, you're going to live a very unhappy life. But if you go down a path of, wow, I was faced with this situation and it was horrible. And then I can look back and say, but I got out of it. And what did I learn from it? That's a win. So you got multiple wins with situations that perhaps initially are looked at as adverse situations.
There are two things you said. One is instead of failure, looking at that to be opportunities, because I think when we call failure, we are literally saying like race is over, dead end. The journey is never over. Okay.
Never over. It's never over.
And to me, there are times I'm a little clumsy. When I fall, first thing I look at is, did anybody see? If nobody sees, I never fell. Okay.
Right. That's right.
But I also feel the second part you talked about is perfection. I feel perfection needs to be in future, something you aspire for. But if you start judging yourself, it becomes dangerous. My daughter, she's 30 now. She's finishing her PhD at UPenn.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And she once instilled this concept in me by saying, Dad, let me just tell you, I love you, you're awesome, but you're not perfect. To the point where, Dad, even both your eyebrows are not the same, okay? And that really helped that we humans are not even biologically symmetric. Like, it's our imperfections that define us. Okay?
Yes.
I remember in my first corporate job, I got a performance appraisal. Everything was great, other than one area. I was told, you have to work on your communication and your accent, okay? I went to this communication expert to spend 3 days, and then I realized that there are certain ways my tongue is not meant to move. Like the letter P and B, I cannot separate. If I say Paul, you think ball. If I say ball, you think Paul. W-E and the letter V, I cannot separate. That's the reason my assistant, Vicky, used to get upset because I called her Vicky. Okay. And then there's the thing I could not say is the word. I have to pause and say executive. Okay. The first company I interned with was Executive Excellence. I used to answer their phone and say Executive Excellence. Like people thought that come here, we'll kill you with excellence.
Right.
The guy I was working with at the end of a few days taught me, Arjun, accept who you are. If you get stuck in a word, don't try to force the word. There are synonyms, walk around it. He taught me the goal is not to speak the way everybody else speaks.
Yes.
But to communicate from the heart. Okay. And I really feel that you are connecting with me at such a deep level to show me, accept who you are. But that in no way has stopped Craig from the pursuit of highest level of excellence. You're not holding yourself back, not putting excuses. And I again want to go back to, can I come to work early? Can I start early? Because man, that is freaking awesome. It will stay with me forever. Like if you and I meet 3 years from now at an airport,
we will.
I will tell you, hey, can you offer me a job and can I start early? Like that would be so amazing. So this is like, now I want to take you to the other side of adversity.
Mm-hmm.
How do you celebrate? Like how do you showcase with yourself that you're proud and get yourself ready to the next level of accomplishment?
So how do I celebrate? I really, I don't get too excited and I don't get too down, if that makes sense. I mean, the simplicity of that, because as you mentioned earlier, we're just all on this journey, right? And as far as I know, no one gets out of this thing alive, right? And so I look at life, what excites me about the experiences are just those, right? There are good experiences and there are bad experiences, but they're all experiences. And it's taken me a long time to get to this point, but to your point about being your own unique self, that's kind of good enough, right? And so I celebrate like anyone else. I mean, I can't tell you, mentioned your daughter, my kids are my celebration. I take so much pride and love and empathy in my heart to see that. And I also take pride in my accomplishments, but that's just one aspect. And we continue to grow and we continue to learn. And so I don't get too high, I don't get too low. I try to be a very positive mindset and just kind of go with the flow.
You know what you said, I worked with some top athletes. That's one of the big mantras they talk about is if the highs get too high, then that sets an expectation. Then the lows automatically get too low.
Yes.
And the thing that you talked about is that everything is an accomplishment. Everything is something that you have done. So it's the effort.
Yes.
I would bet, talking to you for the first time today, that there hasn't been a single time in any situation in your entire career where you came back putting less than 100% effort. You put your best.
Yeah.
If the best could be more, but that day based on everything. So that Craig who puts in 100% effort, maxes out every day, deserves to be celebrated. And I really like keeping the highs and the lows balanced.
Yes.
That keeps us, ready for the long term.
Yes. I mean, just to add to that, as you're aware, I took on a position as Chief Operating Officer for Glide Technologies, and I won't get too into that, but I also share always with my business partner, the CEO, like as we're experiencing this journey together with this startup, and startups you're pivoting every day, you have highs and lows, but I remind myself, and I also remind him, Kevin, that let's really celebrate this journey that we're having together, because we don't know what the future holds. All we know is where we started from and the ebbs and flows of that process and where we are right now. So let's just not get caught up in the North Star, because we're going to miss out on all the really good stuff. The good stuff is what's happening right now, whatever happens, good or bad. So we'll celebrate these accomplishments, but kind of keep an even keel while we're going down that path.
To build on, not getting detailed into the proprietary work that you and Kevin are doing. Let's say this is a generic Kevin, a CEO on a startup. What would be 2 or 3 pieces of advice you would give that generic Kevin on his or her journey to build the startup and take it to the next level?
First and foremost, and I'm sure you've heard this before many times, is surround yourself with honest people and surround yourself with people smarter than you, right? Everyone has a lane.
Yeah.
And your business is more than likely not to succeed if you think you're the smartest person in the room. I mean, when you think of the successful presidents of companies, I think, Satya Nadella, who I follow with Microsoft, and others, Stephen Jobs, and some of the other, iconic business professionals and leaders, their first thing out of their mouths is, hey, make sure you have smarter people in the room than you are. And everyone's learning. The key is making sure everybody's on the same path. So that's the second part of that. Those have to be honest people, right? And everyone has a stake and a common gain, or common goal rather, to whatever that North Star shall be.
Okay. And what's the third thing?
The third thing, have fun. You got to have fun. You got to have fun what you're doing. If you're not having fun, then you shouldn't be doing it, right? I always like, Arjun, I'm a big golfer, and I look at golf as like kind of a metaphor for life to a certain degree. And it's a game that can't be perfected,
Mhm.
only played.
Mhm.
You know, you hit the ball where it lies, and every time you play it, it's going to be different. You have good days, you have bad days. The key is to stay at it and continue to play the game and be passionate about it and have fun, because that it's a game, right?
And I'm so glad you talked about golf. That's a passion of mine too.
Ah, beautiful.
What I've learned is golf takes excuses out of my life. It's the only place, sports, in which all of us start exactly at the same place. I cannot complain. Like in tennis, I can say that Craig was serving too fast. Okay. Here, it doesn't matter. Like here, we are at the same place and the ball doesn't move. It's a unique thing. And then I have figured out the mantra of golf. I've realized golf, there are only two things: skills and bad luck.
That's right.
If I don't hit a good shot, hey, it's just bad luck. Just move on. That is there.
That's
But
it.
is like, to me, also it gives me a lot of time because I compete only with myself. I only celebrate myself. It's an amazing sports for 4 hours. Like to me, it's like as close to meditation I can get to, because I love to talk a lot. So
I agree.
meditate, but I can be within myself, and it's an amazing, amazing gift. So, Craig, I want to go to a totally different dimension. At the end of this conversation, you go to your email and you find an invite. You, Craig, have been asked, requested to set up an event. The event will have three people: 18-year-old Craig, 100-year-old Craig, and Craig today. So number one, where will you plan that event for these three Craigs to meet? And secondly, I also want to know what would be the first thing each of the three Craigs will say when they walk in. Craig 18, what will you say? Craig today, and Craig 100. So first of all, where will that amazing meeting happen?
Well, Arjun, you and I being golf lovers, it would definitely have to be at Augusta.
Can I be the candidate?
That's on my bucket list. That's on my bucket list. And so the three Craigs will clearly all play golf. And so I haven't played there. And so the invitation would be to meet at Augusta. And so the question about what the 18-year-old would say, can you repeat that, please?
First thing, the 18-year-old Craig today and Craig 100 will say.
All right. So the 18-year-old Craig would say, being 18, would say, wow, what does life have in store for me? Right? There would be a curiosity and also a little anxiety about what life has in store and how do I get there? The 100-year-old Craig would say, wow, I'm so happy to finally play Augusta at age 100. But I am at peace and I'm happy with my journey because I'm not sure how much time I have left. So I'm going to cherish every single moment during this experience. And the question that I would have right now is, as the current Craig at Augusta would be, wow, this has been an extraordinary experience. Can I play this again? And can I play this life experience again?
I love that. So Craig, this is a fascinating conversation. Okay. Sometimes we are very superficial.
Yes.
And I have to admit, when I started looking at your bio, I started looking at what you have accomplished. But today I felt you have had that conversation in the corporate world hundreds of times. I can go into LinkedIn and read about you. I want to know what the human being, the man who lives with pride, makes things happen, but lives with empathy. And I really appreciate you taking time to share that person with me. which has been a very inspiring and great learning conversation. Truly appreciate that. And because you were very kind to answer every question, if you have any questions for me or anything else you want to add, this is your moment.
No, thank you so much, Arjun. And this was, again, these are like this being on your show. I'm very thankful for that. As I mentioned earlier, and again, we're taking on this groundbreaking new technology and with Glide Technologies that I think is going to disrupt the world. And so I'm grateful and thankful for you to give me a platform just to kind of share with everyone, some bit of my journey, and hopefully there'll be significant takeaways for those who've listened to my journey. So again, thank you very much. Arjun, this was such a pleasure. You made my Friday and you made my weekend. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Hopefully that will extend to great golf this weekend for you. Look forward to it. So Craig, this was truly a pleasure. Okay. And I will have to listen to this conversation 2 or 3 times to anchor this.
Yes.
It has so many dimensions because it was heartfelt. We had an outline, but we just went everywhere. And thanks for trusting me.
Yes.
And appreciate you and wish you the very best. And hopefully our paths will cross again. Thank you.
Arjun, thank you so much. And again, this was quite a conversation. Wasn't quite sure what to expect, but it was a pleasure to be on your show. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful weekend as well.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Secrets to Win Big with Arjun Sen, founder and CEO of Zen Mango, top brand growth driver, and a former Fortune 500 executive who has been called one of the most marketing intelligent minds in the business. To learn more, visit www.zenmango.com. Share this podcast with your friends and subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts.